Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Manisha Gupta and I am assistant professor in the Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology in MBA department. In the last lecture, we are discussing about the sampling and we have completed the basic concepts of the sampling like your population, universe, your sampling frame, sample, sample unit and the sampling error. And in today's session, we are going to study about the steps of the sampling process and the types of the sampling or the types of the sample in design. So, basically for conducting the sampling, there is a proper steps to understand how we do the sampling. So, for that there are the following steps. First is you should define the target population, specifying the sampling frame, specifying your sampling unit, selection of the sampling method, determination of the sample size and the specification of the sampling plan, then selecting the sample, and in the last you going to select the sample. We are going to study all these steps one by one. We start with the first step, defining the target population. So, how will you define your target population? So, defining the target population, first of all we have to understand what is our research objective, what we are trying to achieve. On that basis you can understand your target population. The defining the population is interesting for the business research and it is basically the first step of your sampling process. Sampling process, in the sampling process, so the first step is to define your population, and in general what we can say that your target population is defined in terms of the element, your sampling unit, extent, time frame, and definition should be in line with your objective of a research, means your sampling unit, the time frame of the sample, the term and element of your population or the sample should be according to the objective of your research. If you are trying to understand the customer satisfaction or your basic concept may be different, means suppose your objective of the study is to know the customer satisfaction, then the other objective may be for the some other study, may be the objective of this study to identify the need of the customer. So, in the both type of the research your respondent may be that different. When you conduct the study on the satisfaction of the customer, then what you can do, you can focus only on the present customer, but identifying the need of the customer, if you want to understand and you are focusing on the launching the new product, then you cannot only collect data from your present customer, you can collect data from the different customer of the different brand also to understand their need, that the whatever the needs are the not fulfilled, so that you can prepare your product according to their needs and wants. Here an example is given to define the target population. For example, if you talk about the kitchen appliances firm, there is a one example that the kitchen appliances firm want to conduct the survey to us and to know about the demand of your microwave oven, that how many people want to purchase the microwave oven. So, for that what is a basic unit they have applied, that they are focusing on the all the women who has the age of the 20 or 20 and above and who can cook, and in the certain case the men also who are interested in cooking. So, this definition is a too broad, and the definition is too broad and will include the every household in a country. By this definition, because in most of the household, in the every single family, there is a woman who is going to cook and who may be the age of above 20. It may be the possible that your mother, your grandmother, woman at the age of the 60, woman at the age of the 80, 85, 95 is also come under this criteria. So, what we have to do for this? However, this definition is too broad. If you take the age group of the women who has more than 20 years of the age and they have no knowledge of the cooking. So, what we can do, and because will include the every household in the country and the population that is to be the covered for the survey, and this population will become very large. So what they can do, they can make one more criteria should be added. Suppose your microwave oven is the cost of the 20,000 rupees, then they target to people whose monthly household income should be more than 20,000 rupees, because if the person household income is just a 5,000 unit, then they will be not your ideal customers, because they did not able to afford this product. So if a product is of the 20,000, then the household income should be, they are thinking that should be minimum 20,000 rupees monthly. So this reduce the target population size and make the research more focused. Then after that, I need to find the your population. We have to understand the specify the sampling frame. So what is basically the sampling frame? The one of the definition of the population is clear that the researchers should decide the sampling frame, and the sampling frame is the list of the element from which the sample may be the drawn. So, and for further research, you have identified that you are focusing on the household where the women have the age more than 20 and they know the cooking, and second criteria what they have put, that their monthly income should be more than 20,000 rupees. And then in the continuation, what we can do in the continuation with the microwave oven example, and the ideal sampling frame will be the database that contain the all the household who have the monthly income above the 20,000 rupees, means we should get the data, or we should contact the data who have the data that the people whose household income is more than 20,000 rupees. So we target to those criteria, or those organization, or those techniques which give you the information that how many people have the more than 20,000 rupees their household income. Then however, in practice it is difficult to get the exhaustive sampling frame, and that exactly fit to require for the particular research. In general, the researcher use easily available the sampling frame, like most of the time the very at present time, previously the example given that the people should use the telephone directly, but at present time what platform they most of the people using, like social media platforms. They are using to collect the sample or understand the needs of the customer by using the WhatsApp information. They also send a WhatsApp message to the existing customers, or they are using the Facebook profile, or they are focusing on the Instagram, Twitter, blogs to get the more information. So there is an example given that if you, and whatever the sampling frame we should conduct here in our this example, like on the customer, and they are targeting on the customer of your microwave oven. So you can add few more criteria, like the people who are living in the urban area and where the both all the members are the working, so there the requirement of the oven will be increased, or the people who are more interested in the cooking. Then we should know that the places where electricity is a problem, then the area where the electricity is a problem, then that place will be not ideal population for you. So you can make the certain criteria, and on these criteria you should make your sampling frame. Then specify the sampling unit. A sample unit is a basic unit of containing the single element or the group of the element of the population to the sample. And in this case, what is the sampling unit? Because we continue with the similar example of the microwave oven, the household become the sampling unit, and all the women above the age of the 20 year living in the practice of the house become your sampling element. To every household, means household whose income is more than 20,000 rupees, and the age group, the female member in the family should be more than 20 years and interested in the cooking. That household become your sampling unit. And if it is possible to identify the exact target audience of the business research, then every individual element will be the sampling unit. Means if you are able to identify the exact target audience, then they should be your sampling unit, and this would present the case of the primary sampling. And however, the convenient and the better means of the sampling would be select the household as a sampling unit and the interview all the female of the above 20-year who cook, and this would present the case of the second sampling unit. So, in the next step you should define your sampling unit. Then select the sampling method. We are going to understand the sampling method or the sampling design or the type of the sampling. So, after defining population, after defining the sampling frame, and after defining your sampling unit, you should select the sampling method. The sampling method is basically of the two types, probability sampling and the non-probability sampling. In the probability sampling, we give the every single sample to chance to become the part of the research, but in the non-probability sampling, every single sample or did not get the similar chances or similar opportunity. So, when we conduct the research, we should make the sampling select the proper sampling method. There is a further division in the probability sampling and the non-probability sampling, which we are going to deal in the later lectures. So, here you just understand that the sampling method is basically the outline or a way in which you are going to select your sample. You have defined everything, and how you are going to select your sample, it is your sampling method. So, after defining sampling unit, you should define the what should be sampling method or what way you are going to collect your sample. And the choice of the sampling method is influenced by the objective of the business research and the availability of the financial resources, because sampling method, there are different type of the sampling methods. Some may be the very costly, some may be the less costly. So, depend upon our financial resources, depend upon our research objective, and depend upon the time available and the nature of the problem in the investigation, we should select our sampling method. And the all method can be grouped under two distinct heads, which is called a probability and non-probability sampling, and there is the further bifurcation in your probability sampling and your non-probability sampling. Then next is determination of your sample size. So, what is basically the sample size? The sample size is basically plays a crucial role in a process. Suppose the population is your 1 lakh customers. So, your sample size means how many customers from which you want to collect data. Suppose you target the 5% of the total population. It means that 5% people will be your sample size. Like if your customer is 1 lakh, then what will the 5,000? 5,000 will be your sample size. So, this sample size play a crucial role in the sampling process, and there are the various way of the classification, the technique used in determining your sample size, and the couple use primary or importance are the worth mentioning are whether the technique deal with the fixed or sequential sampling, or whether it is a logical or the based on the traditional or Bayesian method. Means the sample size which you have choose, it should be depend upon the fixed your time, your cost, depend upon the how much funds you have available, what is the resources. Your sample size should be depend upon those process, and should be logical, or you may take every time. One idea says that every time when we conduct the research, we should conduct the research on the 1000 customer, or you may determine that we are going to choose the 5% of our customer of that brand. So, it will depend upon the your criteria. And in the non-probability sampling, the procedure allotment of the budget, thumb rule, and the number and the subgroup to be analyzed, and it is a very important decision that the number of the variables and the nature of the analysis or the incident rate or your completion rate play important role in determining your sample size. And after determining the sample size, and basically what we are going to do, there is a few important factor in determining the sample size. First is your budget, how much funds is available. Then the thumb rules, whatever the rule you are applying, means if you are taking the ideal number, means 1000 people, or you are targeting on the 5% or 10% of the population. Then the number of the subgroup also, the every sub segment conducting the research on the one brand, then that brand may have this certain segments. If you talk about the Vivo company and the Vivo mobile phone, then they may have the different set of the segments. Their mobile range will be from 10,000 rupees to 80,000, 90,000 or the 1 lakh rupees. The different segment of the customer. So it is dependent on the group and the subgroup of the customers. Then the importance of the decision and the numbers of the variable, nature and the analysis and the incident rate, and these type of the factor which decide that how many samples we are going to take in our research. Then we have to specify the sampling plan. So what is the sampling plan in this step? Basically the specification and the decision regarding the implementation of the research process are outlined. Suppose the block in a city are the sampling unit and the household is a sampling element. Then these steps outline the mode of operandi of the sampling plan in identifying the household on the specific characteristics, and it includes the issue like how is interviewer going to take the systematic sample of the household, means how they are going to collect. It is a basic in the sampling plan what we are going to do, how we are going to collect our data, how we are going to collect the information from our sampling unit. You have defined that we are going to collect the data from this block of the city, and how you are going to identify that from what house or the what people you are going to study. So these will come in your sampling plan, and it should be depend upon the interview how they are going to take a systematic sample of the household, and what should be interview do when the house is vacant. Means if you are collecting the data from the household, it is important to know that when all the people are available in a house, when the target audience is available in a house, you cannot go in the 2 p.m. in the morning or 2 p.m. in a noon, because there is a possible that everyone will be on a work. So in the sampling plan, we should determine the time when you are going to collect and how you are going to approach. Then what is the reconnected procedure, means if you are not able to contact the respondent, then how you are going to reconnect with the respondent and those who are unable, and all these and the many other questions need to be the answer for the smooth functioning of a research. So these type of the questions should be answered in your sampling plan, or this is basically the guideline that will help the researcher in the every step of a process. Then in the final stage, what we are going to do, we are going to select our final sample, and this is the final step of the sampling process where the selection of the sample element is carried out, and at this stage it is necessary that the interviewer stick to the rule and outline the smooth implementation of the business research, and this step involves the implementation of a sampling plan to select the sampling plan and to select the sample required for a sample. So by selecting the sample, our sampling is going to complete. After that, we are going to understand about what is basically the sampling design or the method of the sampling or the type of the sampling. The sampling design is the definite plan of the obtaining sample from the given population, and it refers to the technique or the procedure of the researcher would adopt in selecting the item from the sample. Means how you are going to select a customer. Suppose you are conducting a research on the customer satisfaction, how you are going to select that from what customer we are going to select our data. So you should be, this is the different plan or the types through which we collect a data. And basically in the sampling design may as well lay down the number of the item will be included in the sample, and the size of the sample, whatever the information should be needed when we decide our sampling plan, that what should be the size of the sample. Then sample design is determined before the data is collected. Before we collect the data, our sampling plan should be, sample design should be determined, and that the many sample design from which the researcher choose the our sample. The some design are relatively more precise and easier to apply, while other is not very easy to apply. The researcher must select and prepare the sample design which should be reliable and more appropriate according to their research study. Then there are the type of the sampling. There are the different type of the sampling design based on the two factor. What are the two factor? The factor is the representation basis and the element selection technique, means how they are going to represent and the element of their selection technique. On the represent basis, the sample may be the probability sampling or it may be the non-probability sampling. So probability sampling is based on the concept that the random selection, whereas the probability sampling is non-random. And if you talk about, if you are not selecting the population non-randomly, then it is your non-probability sampling. The one element selection basis in the sample may be either unrestricted or restricted, means if there is a restriction in selecting the sample or there is a no restriction in selecting the sample. So these type of the feature may help you to determine that what is your sampling design. And when the each sample element is drawn individually from the population at large, then samples so drawn is known as unrestricted sample, and where the all other forms of the sampling are covered under the term is restricted sampling. When there is a certain restriction in the sampling, then that is your restricted sampling, and there is a no restriction in the selecting the sample, then there is a non-restrictive sampling. But basically our sampling is divided broadly in two parts, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So basically what is the probability sampling? The probability sampling is a sampling technique where the researchers set the selection of the few criteria and choose the member of the population randomly. Here we have made the certain criteria on which we are going to select our sample randomly. There is a no rule, we select our sample randomly, and in this type of the study, all the member of the population have the equal opportunity to the part of the sample with this selection parameter, means every single member of the population has the equal chance to become the part of your research. They get the equal opportunity, and there are the few types of the sampling. First is your simple random sampling, second is your systematic sampling, third is your stratified random sampling, fourth is your area sample, and last is your cluster sampling. Now we see what is the non-probability sampling. So basically the non-probability sampling, the researcher choose the member for the research at a random, and the sampling method is not fixed or the predefined selection. And in this type of research, what is happening, the sampling method is not fixed or predefined selection, and this make it difficult for the all element of the population to have the equal opportunity to be included in the sample. There is one basic difference between the probability sampling and the non-probability sampling. In the probability sampling, all the member of the population will get the equal opportunity to be the part of your sample. But in the non-probability sampling, all the member of the population may not have the equal opportunity to be included in your sample. When there is no equal opportunity, then that type of the sampling is your non-probability sampling. And these are the following types of your non-probability sampling: judgment sampling, convenient sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, and the snowball sampling method. These all are your non-probability sampling technique. And in the next class, we are going to start to talk about the probability sampling methods. So, thank you everyone. This is all for the day.